Hello students, your teacher here with another lesson on fraction, decimal, and percent conversions. We have already practiced simplifying fractions, comparing fractions, and now we're going to look at converting between the different forms. We are starting out with a fraction to decimal conversion, and we learned in the last video that that fractions are just like division problems. And the numerator is the dividend, the denominator is the divisor, and we're going to see how many times the divisor goes into the dividend. Okay, so you may notice that 8 does not go into 3. Now you can use your calculator, and we'll do that here in just a minute. But for this first one, I wanted to show you how to divide a fraction and create a decimal. All right, so 8, this is what we said. It's 3 divided by 8. 8 does not go into 3, so we're going to add a decimal and a 0, and we're going to bring that decimal up top. 8 goes into 30 3 times without going over. And when I multiply 3 by 8, I get 24. Now we subtract. 30 minus 24 is 6. And 8 again does not go into 6, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. I know 8 goes into 60 7 times. And 7 times 8 is 56. When I subtract those two, I get 4. And since 8 doesn't go into 4, I'm going to add another 0. And I know that 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40 with 0 remainder left over. And so 3/8 as a decimal is 0.375. Now, using your calculator, a little bit easier, 2 divided by 3 is going to give you 0.66666. And then on your calculator, it's probably going to make that last digit a 7. And the reason is this is a repeating decimal. And so the way you would write this would be 0.66. And then I would probably go ahead and round up that third number. All right. So that's fraction to decimal, and I'm going to borrow these decimals, so have conversions and percent decimal fraction. This is the way. Let's go look at decimal to percent from our previous example. So we have 0.375 and 667. Okay. Now, percents are out of 100, and you can have more than 100%, but the base in percentages is 100. So when we're converting a decimal to a percentage, all we're really doing is multiplying by 100. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to look and see what happens. So when I multiply 0.375 by 100, I get 37.5. And when I multiply 0.667 by 100, I get 66.7. Now, what happened? Well, all that happens when you multiply any number by 100 is the decimal moves 2 places to the right. And if there's not a number there, then you just add a 0. So this is 37.5%, and this is 66.7%. And so now we have gone from a fraction to a decimal to a percent. But we also need to know how percent backwards, because we might not be given a fraction to start. So if we're given a percent, now let's go from a percent to a decimal. So when we went from a decimal to a percent, we multiplied by 100. And so now we're just doing the opposite. We're going to divide each of these percents by 100. Okay. 25 divided by 100 is 0.25. And 12.5 divided by 100 is 0.125. And so you may notice that all that happens when you divide by 100 is the decimal moves to the left. Okay, so we've got our decimals now. Let's finish up. First decimal is fraction by going from decimals to fractions, 0.25. And our second decimal is 0.125. All right, for the first decimal, in order to convert a decimal to a fraction, you have to know the place values, okay? The 2 is in the 10th place, and the 5 is in the 100th place. So in order to write 0.25 as a fraction, I use the smallest place value. So this is 25 100ths. So I can write this as 25 over 100. Now, 0.125, we have tenths, we have hundredths, and we even have thousandths. So again, when you're writing a decimal in fraction form, you use the smallest place value. So this is 125 1,000ths. Now, use the skills that we learned in the other videos to reduce these fractions. 25 goes into 25 once, and 25 goes into 100, 4 times. Okay. 125 does actually go into 1,000. So remember, always check to see if the smaller number is a factor of the larger number. If it is, then that is your GCF, and that's what you know. That's how you know what to divide by. 125 goes into 125 once, and 125 goes into 1,000 8 times. All right, that is